Does this look like your last session? Do you feel like you got a nose enema and thinking about when this water is going to come out in the next few hours or days? I call it surfer's drip, and this is what today's video is about.
Okay, go.
I'm sorry for dripping, but drip is what I do. Drip all day, I'll drip all night, I'll drip all over you. So we were lucky here down in Southern California. We got a bit of that southwest swell that came mid-July. Waves were pretty good, but I'm sure everybody took a decent amount of wipeouts, a little bit bigger than normal. And now you're dripping all over the place and you're wondering, why is this happening? Where is it coming from and when will it stop? Well, this video is going to tell you a little bit of these things. So when you take a wipeout or any sort of fall, a brutal duck dive, you're going to get a lot of water pushed up your nose and your body's not knowing that it's coming. It's all of a surprise, and when it feels that come in, your nose is going to kind of swell up and say, let's close off, I don't want any more water up my nose. But the water's already up there. And if this happens again, water can go in pretty easily, but it has a hard time coming out of your nose. So for your nasal anatomy, the nose, when you go in, it goes directly back. Most people think that it goes up, but it goes directly back. So when you get a nose enema, this water is directly pushed into your nasal cavity, and from there there's openings that go to your sinus tracts. You have your maxillary sinus here, and you have your frontal sinus here, and there's some other sinuses, but this is where a lot of the water will build up and stay. And these tracts or openings into these sinuses sometimes will constrict down because there's been water that was just blasted up there. It's not like a regular enema where you put something up there and you just go to the bathroom. You can't push this out. You can try to blow your nose all you want, but it's really not going to come out. So when the water gets shoved up your nose like a nose enema, it's going to go into your nasal cavity, which is here. And then there's something called the osteomeatal complex. It's a medical term. Basically, it's just a tract that goes to your other sinuses. And this is where the water gets stuck a lot of times. So if this little complex area is bigger, the water is going to go up there much easier, but it's going to be able to flow out a lot easier. If it's smaller, it might have a harder time getting up there, but with that pressure, it will get shoved up there, and it's going to stay there longer because it's harder for it to flow back out. So you know what they say about big osteomeatal complexes? Big blast of water. So if you have a larger osteomeatal complex, the water is going to come out in a blast, and if it's smaller, it's going to be more of a consistent drip that just happens throughout the day, a little bit slower.
Oops, oh no!
Is this dangerous? Typically it's not dangerous. It'll come out on its own and resolve. But that's if you're in salt water that's not polluted. That's one of the reasons why people say 3 to 5 days after there's a lot of pollution in the water, don't go out. It's for hepatitis, some other reasons. But one of them is that polluted water can go up into your sinus tracts. And these sinus tracts are located right next to your brain. So you can get things like meningitis, encephalitis. Those things can be deadly. But that'll only happen typically if the water's super polluted. So Timmy Turner.
Say Timmy Turner 10 times fast. Timmy Turner, Timmy Turner.
Have you heard of the Timmy Turner case? I'm gonna link an article down below that has a story of him and his brain infection. It's a pretty interesting read. He went out into possibly polluted waters is what doctors postulated, and he got a bacterial illness that eventually went to his brain. He required a craniotomy, which is where they have to take off part of your skull.
Interesting fact, after a craniectomy, the skull piece that has been removed is sometimes placed in the subcutaneous pouch of the abdomen until that bone is ready to be reattached to the skull.
There's also another case I want to talk about. It was in Waco. They had a freshwater surf park, and there somebody got something called Nigeria fowli, which usually just survives in fresh water but at warmer temperatures, so this was a perfect breeding ground apparently for this. Probably got water up his nose. He started to get fevers and headaches a few days later. He went back to New Jersey and eventually died from his illness. It was some sort of meningoencephalitis, which is an infection of the brain. Unfortunately, in his case, he ended up dying. I'm gonna leave a link to his foundation and the article on the website, as well as Timmy Turner's article, which is a good read.
These aren't my stories to tell, but they reinforce the need to know that the water you're surfing in is clean.